The First World War had some very significant losses of local soldiers. Initially, they identified 87 fallen soldiers, and they were remembered in some trees that were planted in Alexandra Avenue and Prescott Terrace. The initial trees were placed on the 19th of July 1919 by the families themselves. We found that some of the soldiers didn't have plaques for their name, and they were incorrectly represented or not mentioned at all. We were very ably assisted by Michelle from the Burnside Council, so we're very thrilled to be able to say that as part of that research, we found an additional 22 soldiers who are now commemorated in the trees down here below the Rose Park Primary School. And we held an excellent ceremony with the various naval services and the council to commemorate those additional 22 soldiers, and they each individually have their own tree. Members of the community have seen the authenticity of the work we've done, and they've seemed to be very confident that we've now got quite accurate information for these fallen soldiers. The Burnside Military Research Group is particularly grateful to the staff and members of the Burnside Council for the care and dedication that they have shown over very many years looking after the domain of this war memorial.
This memorial was built, from 1921 onwards, but the precinct was established before that. A local group formed immediately after the war, and they set about creating this precinct. They obviously arrived at a decision to construct a memorial. The question was, what was it going to entail and who was going to execute the work? Well, at about that time, a man named Charles Webb Gilbert had come to some prominence for his artistic works and so on, and he's actually a self-taught sculptor, but a pretty good one. And he got his start as a cake decorator. Over time, he developed his skills and then got into bronze casting and so on. There's a lot of his early works, what they call maquettes, which are miniatures of actual works. And there's a number of those in the War Memorial, including one called Over the Top, which is a representation of a soldier leaping out of the trenches. And this memorial for many years was mistakenly called that, but it's a different work altogether. And the correct title of it is Helping Hand, for obvious reasons. The representation is a soldier helping a colleague out of the trench to take part in an attack. We can trace the genesis of this statue to a diorama of the Australian War Memorial, where this figure is just about central in it. And Webb Gilbert, Charles Webb Gilbert, the sculptor, executed the first diorama in the War Memorial, and that was it. And not long after that came these statues. And there is actually an identical statue to this one in Shepparton in Victoria, but it doesn't have the association with the names of local residents in the same way that this one does. So another feature of this memorial are the numbers of brothers who appear on it. There are 9 sets of brothers. The circumstances of their death are as variable as the circumstances of their service. But I just mentioned one family name in particular because a descendant has been a very active member until, sadly, his recent passing. That man's name was Ian Sando, and he has 2 great uncles on the memorial here. Sometime after about 1919, 1920, the government brought into Australia lots of war relics, particularly artillery pieces captured in the Middle East, but most particularly on the Western Front. And so one of those guns formed a key part of this memorial, and when it was established in 1919, the gun went there on the roundabout. It got to a point where it was starting to get a bit dilapidated, and they relocated the gun and then moved it off altogether until it was refurbished. But it's been reinstated as a component of the memorial down the bottom end of Prescott Terrace.
This German 77mm gun was captured in France, one of 70 that were captured by the battalion in the battle for St Quentin Canal. This was in 29th of September to the 1st of October during the final offensive under General Monash. Council went forth and selected this particular 77mm gun because it was associated with the 32nd Battalion.
So the Burnside District Fallen Soldiers Memorial is one of the most significant memorials in the Burnside Council area. It's the main memorial that we have that acknowledges World War I. The reason why it's so significant is because of the trees. The trees were planted in 1919, but it means they have to be cared for afterwards. So as we continue to maintain them and look after them, we are continually reminded of the fallen soldiers. The research team are currently working on replacing all the tree plaques for the 87 fallen soldiers. We're working on creating accurate records for them, and we're also going to install a new plaque for the field gun that's on Prescott Terrace. At the City of Burnside, we want to continue to care for this State Heritage listed memorial. It's really important for us to continue its upkeep and to continue to honour the soldiers that have fallen.